Architects 3D Printing. In the last video, we completed the assembly of the 3D printer CTC Prusa i3 that we bought on eBay, and today we are gonna check if it works, set it up, and make our first 3D printing. Okay, so here we are with our 3D printed completely assembled, and the first thing we're going to do is installing the glass plate with the clips that were included in the box. The order doesn't matter, anyways we will reinstall it before printing. Once we have the glass plate installed, we are gonna turn on the 3D printer to check out if it's working. Yes, our 3D printer started. As first step, we're gonna check if the fans are working. We have two fans, one on the nozzle and one on the electronics, and the one on the nozzle seems to be working, as well as the one in the electronics. Now we're gonna test if the heat bed and the nozzle are working. So for that we will go to the menu right here, we'll press the knob, we'll go to Control, Temperature, Nozzle, and we will set it at 200 degrees. We'll do the same with the bed, and we will set it up at, for example, 70. Now we go to the info screen, and we can see that the nozzle is heating up as well as the bed. We'll wait until it gets the desired temperature, and then we will continue. So as you can see, it is working and the temperatures are stable. Once we have checked that the fans, the nozzle and bed are working, we're gonna do an auto home. For that, go to the menu, Prepare, Auto Home. It will move until every axis hits the end stops, and then it will reach the position where it starts the print. As you can see, I have cut this piece of wood to let the threaded rods move freely, because the threaded rods are not perfectly straight, they come from China, and they may produce some wobbling if we have them inside the circle that comes with the wood. But if we cut the wood straight away, we can solve this problem. Even though this threaded rod is not perfectly straight, as you can see, this guide is straight and it won't move. Once we do the auto home, we have to check if the bed is level. So once the auto home is done, we can turn off the printer. Then we have to move the bed to a position more or less 1 centimeter in X and Y inside of the glass. Once we have the nozzle in this position, we're gonna put this screw freely like so, and we're gonna turn on the printer again, and then we will press auto home, and manually we will press here when we think the nozzle is touching the glass. Once the nozzle is touching the glass, we will stop the Z-axis, pressing here, and now we're gonna fix this screw in its position. So we will move it down until we hear the click, and then move this nut up to the exact point when it clicks. Okay, here is clicked. We'll now move this nut down. Okay, and we got it. It's perfectly fixed. And now we're gonna move up the Z-axis, just about 20 millimeters. And now we're gonna auto home again to check out where does it stop. I think we pressed it too much, so we're gonna move the screw down a little bit. Put some pressure in it with the help of a screwdriver. Now we're gonna move the axis up again. Now we'll press Prepare and Auto Home again to check out where does it stop now. As you can see, more or less now is perfect. Now we will turn off the printer and we will move the heat bed to the front. Now we're gonna level the bed. For that we will need a piece of paper that we will put here. We have to check that the paper can go between the nozzle and the bed, but not too loose. For that we will put some pressure in this screw until it fits perfectly. Now we're gonna move the x-axis to the other end, like so, and repeat the process from this part. So now we will again test fit the piece of paper, and it doesn't fit, but we will put some pressure in the screw, and now the paper can fit in between the nozzle and the bed with a little bit of pressure. We're gonna repeat the process in the other parts, so we'll move the heat bed forwards and we will test fit the paper again. It doesn't fit, so we'll move the screw. Okay, here we have it. And finally the last end of the heat bed, where we have to repeat the process again. So take the paper. As we can see here it's too loose, so we have to release some pressure on the screw. Alright, now we're gonna repeat the process in the four corners. Check it in the first one. Perfect. Repeat the process in the second corner. Perfect. Third corner. And again, the fourth corner. Believe it or not, the bed leveling is one of the most important factors in order to get a good print. Now we're gonna turn the printer again. We will press Auto Home. And now we are gonna load some filament. But for that, we have to go to the menu, Control, Temperature, Nozzle, and we will set the nozzle temperature up to 230 degrees more or less. We can load the filament without heating up the extruder because we will break it. Anyways, our system has a block for the extruder motor, so it doesn't work if the nozzle is cold. So the next step will be moving the extruder more or less to a center position and move it up. So prepare, move axis. We will start with the y-axis, so Y, and more or less 100 millimeters. Now the x-axis, the same, more or less 100. And finally the z-axis, we'll move it onto 100 millimeters again. So we will wait until the nozzle hits the temperature to 32 degrees and the axis go to the desired position. While we wait, we're gonna prepare the spool of filament. For that we will need what the seller calls the tripod, and we will introduce the plastic piece into the plywood piece, like so. Now we will put our PLA spool, and finally the last piece. As you can see, it's working. The nozzle has hit the 232 degrees that we set, and what we're gonna do now is to insert the filament in the first hole in our nozzle. Now we're gonna go to Prepare, Move Axis, move 1 millimeter, we'll go to Extruder, and now we're gonna increase the number until we see the filament going through the nozzle. So let's start. I will set it at 80 millimeters. As you can see, the filament started going out of the extruder as a perfect spaghetti. Okay, so now comes a very important step in this process, that will be cleaning the glass. Our print has to stick to this glass plate, and if we touch it with our hands, it won't stick. So for that we're gonna take the glass and wash it with some soap. That's it. Now we'll dry it out with a paper towel. Remember to don't touch it with your hands. Once it's dry, we're gonna install it again in the printer. Alright, so as you can see, our glass is perfectly clean, and we're gonna install it again back in the printer. Remember, don't touch it with your fingers. Now we're gonna put the clips back, and we're ready to make our first print. We will use an SD card to load the models on the machine. So first we need to go to our computer and slice a model with a slicing software. Here we'll use Cura, and then we will do our first print. Okay guys, so here we are in our PC, and the first thing we have to do is to download Cura. So we will type Cura on Google, Ultimaker Cura. We will download the last version for free, then we will choose I don't want to share any information, and download. As you can see, the download is pretty fast. And once we have it downloaded, we just have to open. And to install it, we only have to drag and drop the Ultimaker Cura into the applications folder. Alright, now we can delete the files. We can go and open Cura. Once Cura is open, we have to create a 3D printer, so we will go to Preferences. Now we'll go to Printers and then add a new 3D printer. But since our 3D printer is from China, it doesn't appear here. So we will choose for now the Prusa i3 MK2. Add. And now you can see that has appeared here, and we will click on Activate. Once this printer is activated, we'll check the settings. So for now, we will set the layer height to 0.2 millimeters. Then we'll go to Custom Settings, and in Quality, we'll put here 0.2 and 0.15. That's okay. Perimeter, since our nozzle is at 0.4 millimeters, I think we'll set it up to 3 layers. 3 external layers, so we'll write 1.2, that is 0.4 3 times. And for the superior and inferior, it is set to 0.8, that means in layers of 0.2, 4 layers, that's okay. The infill is set to 20, so I will set it to 25 maybe. Looks like a good number. For material, I will set it up to 200 degrees for the nozzle, 60 degrees for the bed. The diameter is 1.75, that's okay. We will activate the retraction in layer change. Distance of retraction, I will put 2 millimeters. Speed of retraction, 25 millimeters per second. And minimal displacement of retraction 1 millimeter. Alright, speed. This speed is pretty fast, since the Prusa i3 MK2 is a good printer, but our printer is from China, so this is too fast for it. I will set it up to 40, and the movement speed of 80. That is quite okay. Refrigeration, we will turn it off since we don't have a layer fan. Support we don't need them. Adherence, we will use the border, 8 millimeters, sounds okay. And special modes, nothing, it's okay. Alright, so we have our Cura set up. Now we are gonna save these settings. So create profile, and we will name it 3D Benchy Test. Alright. Here we have our settings, and now we need to download the 3D Benchy. For that we'll go to Thingiverse and we will search here 3D Benchy, and this one that is featured by Thingiverse. We can go here and download all the files, but they are a lot, as you can see here. So we will just download the 3D Benchy that is complete, this file. As you can see, it's pretty fast also. Now we have our file in downloads. We are going to drag and drop it to the canvas on Cura. Alright, this is our Benchy. This is how it looked like in a solid view, but we will watch it in the layer view. Here we have the 241 layers. And this is how it is going to be printed. The new version of Cura has a simulation tool. Okay, right now we have to save a file. For now we're gonna save it into the desktop, and I will name it 3D Benchy First Test. As you can see, you have to save it as a G-code. Hit save, and now we only have to drag and drop our G-code to the SD card and insert it in the 3D printer to print. Once we have our G-code loaded into the card, we're gonna introduce the card on the 3D printer right here, and we are ready to our first print. But before, I will make a quick cable management, because if you have this mess of cables you can run into serious issues while printing. So as we will modify it later, for now we are gonna use this cable holder that was included with the printer. So let's wrap it around the cables real quick. Alright, so it should be enough for our test print. Now we're gonna go to the menu, and here we can see print from SD. So we will select 3D Benchy First Test and we will click it. Now as you can see, it says bed heating and the target temperature is 70 degrees. The current temperature is 21, so it's heating up, and the temperature for the nozzle is 210 degrees, the target, because the first layer is set up to 210, and then it will go down to 200 for the rest of the layers. We will wait until the heating is done. Once the printer reaches the target temperature, it starts moving and go down to the home position, and then it will start the print. As the bed is perfectly level, we can see that the filament is going out perfectly well. Let's have a closer look. As you can see, the filament is extruding absolutely perfectly. Right now it has started at the second layer, and as you can see, the target temperature has been set down to 200 degrees. Our job in this sprint is completely done. Now we just have to wait 1 hour and 40 minutes until the print is done. Okay, so as you can see, the print is complete. It took 1 hour and 51 minutes to finish, and the quality is quite okay. Despite the start where the bed was at 70 degrees, it started bending and it is very deformed, but the rest of the benchy, as it was going up, looks quite well. We're gonna take it out. Alright, as you can see, we have a glossy finish because we cleaned the glass, and the text in the bottom is quite clear. And here we have our benchy, that as you can see, the quality is not perfect, but it's not that bad for being the first print. Alright, so after the video we can count a couple important issues that we will solve in the next episodes. The first is the distortion or bending that we suffered in the first around 20 layers. And that's because the heat bed was at 70 degrees Celsius, and since we don't have a layer fan yet, the whole printed object couldn't cool down fast enough. The ideal solution is to make and install a layer fan. For that I bought a couple 40mm fan on Amazon. I will let you the link in the description if you want to buy them. But for now, as a temporary solution, we will reduce the heat bed temperature down to 50 degrees Celsius, and we will also reduce the movement speed from 40 millimeters per second down to 30 millimeters per second, so the objects will have more time to cool down. The second issue that we ran into is the very high level of vibrations. It was that hard that the whole printer moved around 20 centimeters on the top of the table, pushing the camera that was recording the time-lapse to the floor. We will also look for the solution for this problem in the next video. If you like the video, please don't forget to hit the like button and feel free to leave any comments if you have any questions or any suggestions. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel here, and please consider to support me on Patreon to keep making it possible. For regular updates in my future projects, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram as Architects3DP. I will link you my accounts down in the description. See you on the next video.